It's all. Oh, and it's broken.
Oh shit. Yeah, these things are. Maybe this is what we should do.
Okay, so we'll
Hello?
begin the debates. Again, today debating for the position of Associated Students Presidents, we have Katarina Hernandez from RISE SDSU and Zachary Almaraz from the Blueprint Slate. Before we get started, we'll go over some ground rules. First, during the debate, please be respectful of your candidates by speaking only when it's your turn and by respecting the time limit set forth by the moderators for each question. To begin, we'll start with 1 minute per candidate for opening statements. Katarina, will go with you first and start your minute. When you have 30 seconds left, we'll raise a fist to indicate 30 seconds are almost up. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, your minute starts now.
Hola, mi gente. I hope you're all well and nourished at this time. First off, I would like to say Happy Women's History Month, Ramadan Kareem, Irish American Heritage Month, Disability Celebration Month, and to anyone else celebrating at a holiday at this time, I wish you well too. And I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge the Kumaya land that we are on today. My name is Katarina, or Kat Hernandez. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm currently a third-year criminal justice major with a double minor in honors in interdisciplinary studies and psychology with an emphasis in neuroscience. Today we are gathered here at this time for a debate moderated by the amazing Daily Aztec. Thank you so much for your contributions, as I'm running to be our next SDSU president. Fate is when experience meets opportunity. My experience precedes me, as I've been in 11 different leadership positions and founded my own dance team called Eccentric SD. I'm the current Green Love representative, and I work 2 jobs, one in the Superior Court in the Criminal Operations Unit, and as a desk assistant at University Towers. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Katarina. Zachary, we'll go with you.
Yes, thank you so much. Bienvenidos a todos. I would first like to thank everyone who came out in support of a fair and democratic debate. It is important that we recognize the privilege we have as U.S. citizens to be able to vote in fair elections. I would also like to thank my team, Blueprint SDSU, for their support, and my opponent for being here today, along with the Daily Aztec for hosting today's debate. Also, can't forget Happy Women's History Month, everyone. My name is Zachary Arturo Almaraz. I am a second-year junior standing business finance major, minoring in leadership studies. Over the past 2 years, I have served as Hispanic Business Student Association's College of Business Council representative, Hispanic Business Student Association's Director of Professional Development, Aztec Student Union Board's Aztec Pride Chair, Aztec's Rock Hunger Business District Officer, Entrepreneurship Society Executive Vice President, Finance Investment Society General
Zachary,
Member.
your minute is up.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So for the first part of this debate, we'll ask you both general questions that relate to the position of AS President. Following this, we'll go into individual questions based on the statements you've presented during your campaign. So for the general questions, you'll each have 1 minute to respond, and we'll kindly remind you to refrain from speaking out of turn to maintain respect for your contender. Okay, let's begin. So Zachary, what inspired you to run for AS President?
So what inspired me to run for AS President is my preceding positions before this. I have been around this campus in all different areas, and I really feel like I've connected with the students here. I really want to engage students on campus in what opportunities we currently have, along with introduce new opportunities for our students. I feel like it's very important that our students understand what is going on. And I want to create that transparency between the administration, myself, and everyone here at this campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary. Katarina, same question goes to you. What inspired you to run for president?
Embracing representation ignites the path towards transformation. And I'll say that again. Embracing representation ignites the path towards transformation. It's one thing to be a student leader and to run for a student leadership role and to say that you want to represent people. Every year we hear people say the same thing in different ways, and it's always along lines of, I'll be your voice. However, it should be, I'll be your listener. Because when you listen and observe, you see that people sharing their story should be the ones on this podium. Pain and resilience is important in leadership roles, especially presidents, because they demonstrate empathy, determination, and the ability to overcome challenges. By acknowledging and understanding pain, a candidate can better connect with and advocate for the needs of diverse communities. I'm running for president because I've never seen someone like me represent me, so I want to be that for others. There's never been a female foster youth president at San Diego State, and I think it's time that we see what resilience and representation can do for a school as great as this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Katarina. We'll have another question for you. What makes you qualified to be the ideal candidate for this position?
Yeah, of course. I wonder if... Okay. So my qualifications don't just lay within my personal endeavors, but it also lays within my professional endeavors as well. So last year, I was the Vice Commissioner of Operations, which means from the beginning, I've been advocating for students' wants and needs. The main idea of building a legacy is to make things possible that people don't see. For example, when I was a second year, I passed the policy that, that enforces second and third floors to use the red ID policy because students were saying that they felt unsafe. That's my name that's on that signature, as well as Ms. Ragini Parkey, who is in this area, or she will be soon. And we passed that bill because we found out that people felt unsafe with different transients in the area, and that's just one of my commitments. I'm also the founder of my own RSO. It's a dance team called Eccentric SD. I'm currently the Green Love representative, and
Katarina, your minute's up.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Zachary, same question goes to you. What makes you qualified to be the ideal candidate for this position?
Yes. So I keep hearing I will support students in marginalized communities. Well, I'm here to tell you that I have supported students in marginalized communities from day one. Just this last week on Tuesday, I had the privilege of attending HBSA's first ever Camino al Éxito Road to Success conference. This event happened because as part of eBoard, I informed them of what the student success fee really entails. And so they were able to apply and received a $12,000 grant for their conference. The conference promoted effective business strategies and gave a room filled with majority first-generation students connections and career opportunities that they could have never imagined. Two of the main speakers I was able to leverage and provide for them. And with this, I want to continue to do at the school as the AS president position. Thank you.
Thank you. Zachary, in your opinion, what is the biggest AS issue that needs to be addressed?
I think the biggest AS issue that really needs to be addressed is representation of what's going on our campus. I think as my position with the Aztec Student Union Board, we've done an amazing job with our marketing and reaching out to students and creating creative strategies of marketing to really get students engaged in what's going on. And what I really want to do is pursue that at AS at large. And the way that I'm going to do that is promote better marketing strategies to get people involved, create a centralized calendar system so that way students know what's going on and really increase involvement at our school. Thank you.
Thank you. Katarina, same question. What do you think is the biggest issue AS needs to address?
And it's a minute, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. As we've seen in recent months, many Palestinian students have experienced hate crimes on our own campus. It took 5 months for a ceasefire resolution to be passed, while every week that we waited and discussed, thousands more were being killed in a genocide. At that time, there were peaceful pro-Palestine protests, and students were being harassed by faculty and continued to be ignored. Why do we, as an institution, need to be told again and again and again that people are dying, students are being hate crimed, and students' hijabs were removed from them, and AS took 5 months to respond? Looking forward into the future, we need to enhance safety and put pressure on administration to care. First, I want to establish a cultural sensitivity training for faculty and professors. This will provide cultural sensitivity and diversity training to campus security personnel to ensure they understand and respect the needs and concerns of all students. Next, I want to address awareness campaigns and conduct awareness campaigns and educational programs to promote understanding, respect, and allyship among all members of the campus community. Thank you.
Zachary, should you become president, how do you plan to strengthen collaboration and communication between associated students for both student organizations and the Daily Aztec?
So much like I said before, a centralized calendar system will really bridge the gap between student involvement and student notice of programs that are going on right now. So one thing that I applaud the Daily Aztec for is their reoccurring emails that they send within the SDSU email. I am one of very few students that actually do check their email. And so what I really want to do is promote it on a social media standpoint, something that most students around here can recognize and really follow up through. Through my position of Associated Students, Aztec Student Union Board representative, I had several students come up to me and say, "Hey, I really appreciate what you did. I would have never heard about this if I hadn't have seen your marketing promotions." And so I really want to increase that area of marketing, so that way we can create that transparency for students to get involved and learn about AS initiatives and Daily Aztec programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary. Katarina, same question. How do you plan to strengthen the relationship and communication between AS and for both student organizations and the Daily Aztec?
Honestly, that's also one of our biggest flaws in Associated Students. When you are around the same people all the time, you forget to reach out to the campus that put you in this position in the first place. This is an elected role, which means people vote for you. The students are your responsibility. But to get this position, people will promise you, "Oh, I want to talk to you." I say this a lot. I hate when people say things like just political jargon, like bridge the gap. Like, no one really cares if you bridge the gap or not. It's if you actually do it or not. There's such a big difference between verbally saying something and actually going out there and wanting to do it. And throughout this entire campaign, and even before my campaigning, I've been connected with so many different organizations, and my experiences all across the board. And any experiences I don't have, I looked for in my campaign members. That way we're reaching as many people as possible, but also encouraging my slate to go and talk to people. Because at the end of the day, it's the students that put you here. And if you forget that, then you don't deserve to be in this position. And
Katarina, thank you. Your
Yeah, no
minute's
problem.
up. So, question goes to you, Katarina. Part of the AS president's responsibilities is serving as the representative at San Diego County Collegiate Council. What initiatives do you intend to pursue to advocate for the interests of SDSU students at the county level?
I love that you asked that question. So I'm currently a CHES delegate, which is the California Higher Education Student Summit. And this last week, or 2 weeks ago, I'm kind of losing track of time, I was up in Sacramento actually advocating for university policies. We were advocating for policies to do with undocumented students. We were advocating for policies for student parents, because if you're a student parent, you should not be paying the same tuition as people that have their parents paying for them. You are already supporting one person. You don't need to be supporting your own tuition and have no scholarships available to you. And where was I going with that? Oh yeah, but I think that there's so many issues on the county level that we could address, but you need to actually go out there and do it. And I'm already actively doing it. I'm wearing the pin right now. And I will never stop advocating, because that's what my passion is. And it doesn't matter if I get this position or not. You will see me at CHES next year again and again and again. Thank you.
Thank you, Katarina. Zachary, part of the AS responsibilities is serving as the representative at San Diego County Collegiate Council. What initiatives do you intend to pursue to advocate for the interests of SDSU students at the county level?
Yeah, so at the county level, I would like to bring in, like I said before, I would like to bring in more student scholarship opportunities. And something that we could do that, a way that we could do that on the county level is by leveraging our alumni, our past alumni, and within the San Diego area. And so what they could do is promote flyers out there, promote emails on their page, everything like that, to get alumni back to the SDSU campus, so that way we can leverage their connections, build greater career opportunities for our students, and also bring their donations back to SDSU. Because with those donations can help an enormous amount of students on our campus who need to be rewarded for what they're doing on this campus. And I really want to increase those scholarship opportunities to really to help our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Zachary, another responsibility is nominating members of the Campus Fee Advisory Committee, as well as the Aztec Shops Board of Directors. What criteria will you use to select candidates, and how will you ensure their accountability to the student body?
So much like Kat just said, she selected her board on a various level of opportunities, of areas, backgrounds, and whatnot, same as I. I selected my team on a very particular level. We had many different interview processes in which we decided the right people that we felt best represented our community. So I would do the same thing when picking those students, because I want to make sure that there is representation of each community, there is representation of all majors, all backgrounds, all ethnicities, and I would put in a lot of time and effort into creating those one-on-one connections, so that way I personally, along with my team, whoever gets elected, can select who we feel is the best applicant. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary. Katarina, same question. Another responsibility is nominating members of the Campus Fee Advisory Committee, as well as the Aztec Shop Board of Directors. What criteria will you use to select candidates, and how will you ensure their accountability to the student body?
Okay, so when it comes to selecting people for certain committees, I'm looking for resilience, understanding, and empathy. These are all important factors in people, and you can't be a leader and you can't lead people and choose if they get money or not for their organization if you can't understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. So I think those are the main things that I'm looking for, but I'm not really gonna look in my friend circle. I always am pretty good at going out there and asking people, hey, who do you think? And just asking outside opinions, because I'm just one person, and even though I do love making decisions and I'm pretty fast at it, this is a role that represents all of the student body. And my role isn't one person, my role is a reflection of the student body. And if the student body has people that they want to see in the campus program funding, then let's put them there. And I'm extremely excited for that process, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Zachary, you touched on selecting based on diversity. In terms of policy implementation, how do you plan to ensure the alignment with the goals and values of associated students while also addressing the diverse needs of the student body?
Yes. So much like in light of recent conflict, I've been able to support all students. Personally approved the Muslim Student Association for funding for their iftar event this next Monday, where they will break fast together with other non-Muslim students over an incredible dinner in which we were able to approve funding for. I personally am on that board, CPF, who for the past 2 years, I have approved over $50,000 in funding for student organizations that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. This one is no different. And this one, I really felt was an amazing event, because it promotes, It promotes empathy and fosters a community on this campus by bridging the gap of diversity across cultures. And that's something I really want to introduce, cross-cultural communication.
Thank you, Zachary. So Katarina, same question. In terms of policy implementation, how do you plan to ensure the alignment of AS values with also addressing the diverse needs of the student population?
Of course, a majority of my campaign is to represent and advocate for historically marginalized communities. You can't support every single student on this campus without acknowledging the pain and adversity that so many cultures on this campus have had to go through. That is why one of the initiatives that I mentioned earlier was implementing the culturally sensitive training for faculty and professors. Because if a student is coming to you and saying that they can't participate in an exam because they have a religious holiday and they're being told no, what are you supposed to do about that? That should be assumed that something could be done about that. And I hope to see that culturally sensitive training be applied in classrooms, be applied in training future student employees. And especially when it comes to any Title IX issue, you should be culturally sensitive to the people that are coming and talking to you about their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Katarina, for most SDSU students, getting a degree will put them deeply in debt. Many young people who dream of attending SDSU never will because of affordability issues, especially in light of the rise in tuition costs. How would you advocate on behalf of the people in making college more affordable and accessible?
Thank you so much for that question. So for those that didn't know, I am a foster youth and I was never adopted. So for me personally, I was going from home to home. I've been homeless at some point, and I only went to college because of scholarships. I was getting ready to go to the military. Like, I spent all of high school in JROTC getting ready to be shipped off. But someone told me to fill out the FAFSA, and then I found out that SDSU would cover my entire tuition. And that is because of Cal Grant. However, with the current rise in tuition, there's a new thing called the Cal Grant Reform, which is on a state level, that is a bill that I'm personally supporting and advocating for, that with the raise of tuition, it also expands the amount of people that can have access to a scholarship. That would open it up to 150,000 middle-class citizens that are trying to go to college. And I think this is a huge initiative that I'll personally support and see through, and I will continue to tell my story so that more people are encouraged to fill out the FAFSA and policy making. Thank
you, Katarina. Same question, Zachary. Most SDSU students getting a degree would put them deeply in debt. And many young people who dream of attending SDSU never will because of affordability issues. How would you advocate on behalf of the people in making college more affordable and accessible?
Yes, thank you. So unlike Kat, I am currently in debt. I've taken out $40,000 in loans over these past 2 years, and I am expected to pay them off within the next 10 years. So one of my main initiatives that will help out not only me, but the majority of campus would be student scholarships. And how I'm gonna do that. How many people in the crowd have been on the meal plan? A majority of the crowd has been on the meal plan at one point in time. Now, how many of you guys has the meal plan not rolled over? It doesn't roll over. So there's a problem there. A lot of that money that students are paying for in that program through Aztec shops are not getting their full return. And so what I really want to do is work with Aztec shops to really leverage that extra funds that students aren't using day to day and put that into a student scholarship, student grant that can go back to the students. They want to consider themselves, Aztec shops wants to consider themselves a 510, a nonprofit.
Thank you, Zachary.
Yeah, of course.
Your minute's up.
Thank you.
So Zachary, this year the Career Advantage Initiative kicked off, opening a new sector within AS. What does advancing careers for SDSU students mean to you, and what measures are you planning to take to ensure this initiative meets student needs?
Yes, so with my role in Hispanic Business Student Association as their professional development coordinator, I directed and coordinated several events with guest speakers, not only alumni, but beyond the SDSU community. And I've personally had results of students coming up to me afterwards saying, thank you so much for creating these connections for us. And with the Career Advantage Initiative, I myself has been able to create a number of connections with strong alumni who are doing stuff such as entrepreneurship. One that I'd like to spotlight is Blenders. Chase Fisher was able to come out here and really promote his brand and his opportunity that he ran with. That's something that I want to do past college, is really run with my opportunities as an entrepreneur and really expand my knowledge. That's something that I really want to also implement in the school, so that way our students can have the leverage the alumni that we have and really create these opportunities for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary. Katarina, this year the Career Advantage Initiative kicked off, opening a new sector within AS. What does advancing careers for SDSU students mean to you, and what measures are you planning to take to ensure this initiative meets student needs?
This is an amazing question. Thank you so much for asking it. So this year, I was the Green Love representative, it's not over yet, and we had a Green Fest, which is a week-long initiative of sustainable initiatives and events to be promoted that ends with a headliner concert. And one of our events was the Sustainable Career Fair, because a lot of people don't know what sustainability is or why it matters in every single sector and every single major and every single job. So the importance of sustainability is that, look at this building. It took engineers, right? And this is a double LEED platinum building, and it didn't happen without those engineers that had the sustainability mindset. And so at the Sustainable Career Fair, we invited all sorts of careers to come and talk about what they do and how they implement sustainability every single day and why it's important. So we even had people from the county.
Your minute's up.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Zachary, in your opinion, what aspects of current AS leadership could be improved upon, and how would you address those shortcomings if elected as president?
So representation is what it really comes down to. We have a broad array of AS leaders that are doing amazing things. However, when people come up to us, they always ask, oh, you're an AS? Like it's something that you need to know. Joey touched on this the other day. It's like you need to know someone to get in. It's so open. I stumbled into my first CPF meeting, campus program funding meeting, just from going into the union. And since then, I've been able to make such an impact on this campus by approving events, approving funding for student organizations that are doing amazing things on this campus. And I really want to spotlight those opportunities through that centralized calendar system that I keep talking about. So that way students like-minded myself, transfer students, first-year students, second-year students, all of us can really understand these opportunities and get involved.
Thank you, Zachary. Same question goes for you, Katarina. In your opinion, what aspects of current AS leadership could be improved upon, and how would you address those shortcomings if elected as president?
Thank you so much. I've been an associated student since my second week of college. Same thing, because I stumbled into an operations meeting, and that just kind of skyrocketed me from there, and I was like, all right, I'm staying here, and I'm gonna make some change while I'm here. So the biggest shortcoming that I've noticed is a lack of empathy. How is it that when Palestinian students were coming and telling their stories, we were able to have conversations and debate over small words like bilateral for weeks? And this pushed back so many of our initiatives simply because we couldn't agree on a definition of a word. It's like that word, nothing matters as much as the safety of these students. And that applies across all sectors, because if you think about accessibility, why isn't there, it's Disability Celebration Month, and there is nowhere for candidates to read the questions as it's coming along. And how is a disabled student supposed to be able to read if they can't hear these questions? So I think that a lack of empathy and a lack of accessibility is something we need to address in associated students.
Thank you, Katarina. So now we'll move on to individual questions. You each have 2 minutes to respond. Same goes. When you have 30 seconds left, we'll have a fist up. Katarina, we'll start with you. So your statement also explained, and you also mentioned this earlier, of experiencing homelessness. So you might understand the challenges of housing and potentially food instability for students. How do you plan to leverage your experience and address these concerns if elected, ensuring that all students have access to stable housing and adequate nutrition?
This is an amazing question. Thank you so much. So this is kind of a sensitive topic, so if I trail off, I'm so sorry. But there was a time when I experienced homelessness, and I have been self-supporting since I was 14. I was living in and out of my car that I had to pay for, like by myself. Like I had to buy it or else I wouldn't have had one. And housing was a really hard situation, and the county offers a lot of help, but you'd never know where to go for resources unless you go out and look for it yourself. So something that I want to implement is having designated, we already have this through EOP and Guardian Scholars, so if you don't know it, I'm gonna promote it real quick. We have resources through EOP and Guardian Scholars which reach out to students and they say, are you looking for housing? And on campus, if you're not aware as well, if you're experiencing homelessness or having trouble with housing and you have a certain Cal Grant requirement, you can live on campus until you graduate. I'm currently in that program right now. That's why I live in Aztec Corner. Don't dox me. I live in Aztec Corner right now because they house me. I don't have houses to go to. Like, I'm not guaranteed anything once I leave this college. That is why I have to go into the military to afford that. So I don't have the direct answer to that because I'm still figuring it out myself. But I hope that my story can start inspiring people. Even if you're in a bad situation, you can make it up here. And even if you're going through something and you are experiencing adversity, you can still be a part of this campus and you can still make change and have your voice heard. Your voice is so important, and your voice matters so much more than any professional experience, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, it's your voice and your personality that gets you where you want to go, and your heart, not what you put on your resume. Thank you.
Thank you, Katarina. Zachary, I'd like to ask you the same question. How would you ensure that all students have access to stable housing and adequate nutrition if elected?
So stable housing is an important thing. I've been fortunate enough my whole life to have an amazing family that I've been able to grow with. They've supported me throughout all of my endeavors. And so I empathize. I can only empathize with those who do not have those such luxuries. And with that comes the idea of more scholarships, more grants for our students. And that comes from the leveraging our alumni that we have who would like to bring donations back to our school. With those donations, they can help not only students that are experiencing homelessness, experiencing mental health issues, experiencing all these such unfortunate situations. I can bring that money back to really help supply funding for those initiatives. And so one of my main things would basically be reaching out to alumni such as Chase Fisher, such as the amazing alumni that we have that would love to bring back to our school and love to support our students, and really create meaningful donations, because that's what it really comes down to. We have to make these donations meaningful. And that's what that's what I would do with those donations, to help supplement those housing costs, supplement those food costs for our students.
Thank you, Zachary. Zachary, I'll ask you another question. One of your main points, which you mentioned earlier, is to create a centralized event system for campus visibility. However, San Diego State already has an event calendar in place on their website. What improvements does your proposed calendar offer over the existing system?
So yes, I'm very glad that you asked that question. So my calendar would basically be across the entire school. The one that we currently have in place that's done amazing is the ASUB one, the Aztec Student Union Board, which I've been able to be a part of this past year. We've been able to promote our events with such ease and over attendance of at least 100 at each of our events. And so I really want to create this calendar system across the entire campus, because we've proven that it works. We've proven through ASUB that it does work. And so what I want to do is expand that to RSOs, fraternities, sororities, so that way they can log their events that are going on week by week, day by day, and hourly. So that way our students can really get their interest alike with what's going on in this campus. I struggled as a freshman last year to find my niche, to find my community. And that really took a toll on my mental health, which I didn't actually believe mental health was a huge issue until I really faced it myself. And so I really want to increase that opportunity for students to get involved, find their community on campus through this centralized calendar across the entire campus. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask you a follow-up question on that. So there are over 500 recognized student organizations here, and your plan is to incorporate that plus sororities and fraternity events, with which they have, multiple events a week. How do you plan on navigating the overwhelming amount of events and making sure both students and student organizations find your calendar easy to use?
Yeah. So this would be an open application, which means that the students, the executive members of each of the clubs, all the fraternities, sororities, AS initiatives can personally log their events. So that way I am not doing it, no one in the AS is doing it, it's them personally logging their event. So it's an option. It's an option for them to do it. And this will in turn increase retention for their clubs, increase involvement for their clubs, and unfortunately, it does sound unfeasible at first, but we would start small. We would start with the organizations that we know and hopefully expand it. But another thing is, is walkarounds, going into those specific clubs, going into all of the organizations, community centers, resource centers, and really advocating for this thing would really bring it to the spotlight. That is what it really takes, is personal communication. I can't just send out an email to say, hey, log your event on this new calendar system. No, I need to go and promote it with my team and really hammer it down and be like, hey guys, you log this event, I guarantee this next event is gonna have at least 20 more members, 10 more members. Start small. So we have to start small so that way we can get it off the ground, and eventually and maybe in the next few years, next few months, it will be a campus-wide event that I can come back to as an alumni and say, hey, I was able to do this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Zachary. Katarina, in your campaign, you mentioned that you plan to require transparency in your governing processes within AS and SDSU decision-making. Can you provide detailed insights on how you plan to enforce that transparency, and what measures will you implement to ensure that the decision-making is open and accountable to the student body?
Yeah, of course. So explaining the AS structure is pretty difficult. And pretty long-winded, but I will shorten it so that if I say random words, it makes sense. Right now, AS is split into the Campus Life Council and the University Council. And within those different councils, you make different decisions, whether it's based on campus recreation or campus colleges and universities. In those different meetings, we make different kinds of decisions. And I will address right now, it's transparent in the sense that you can go to meetings and you can listen to people talk about it and you can listen to the decision made, but you don't have the opportunity other than a minute to make a public comment, and some people have much more than a minute to say. So I want to implement a town hall meeting in which a representative from each community has the opportunity to speak as long as they want and as long as they need, because you can't limit what people have to say in a minute. I mean, minus today, but you can't, like, people have so much they want to say, and some things are so deep-rooted that you can't express it in a short amount of time. And having a representative from each community to come out and talk about how they feel, I will also require at least the AS executives to be at that town hall and have to be forced to listen to these perspectives, because some executives don't go out and they don't ask what people want. And when they do listen, it still takes a lot of pushback. And that is something that I personally want to work on to increase transparency, is implementing a town hall and requiring AS execs to sit on it and make it optional, but hopefully our representatives want to go to it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Katarina. Following up, on the topic of tuition increases, how do you plan to ensure transparency in allocating funding? As well, can you outline the steps you plan to take in making sure that the allocation process is clear and understandable to students?
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that for me, please?
Of course.
Thank you.
On the topic of tuition increases, how do you plan to ensure transparency in allocating funding? And can you also outline the steps you take in making the funding allocation process clear and understandable for students?
Yeah, of course. I think this just goes back to my, one of my initial goals of enhancing is accessibility. It's so easy to say that anybody can look at these funds, and it's so easy to say, oh, it's public information, but you really have to dig to find it. And it's like, if you're not looking for it, you're not gonna know where to go. And it's like, I'm an AS, and I've been an AS for 3 years, and when I look for even like the Gaza ceasefire resolution, you have to dig to find it. Like, and I was there like when it happened. So to make it more accessible, we should put it on more of our social media pages. Hey, we just uploaded our costs and what all of our tuition fees look like, and this is the breakdown. And it looks different depending on what classes you're taking and what you're involved in. However, there should be a basic breakdown that's understandable and avoids all of the legal jargon that just confuses people. Not everybody is a political science major, and not everybody is raised to understand what a breakdown of tuition costs look like. I wasn't raised to know what that looks like. When I look at the numbers, I just get overwhelmed and I close it. I'm like, all right, I don't want to see that anymore. And I know a lot of students can relate to that, but to make it understandable and to have people from different communities look at it and say, oh, you know what, I really don't know what that means, we can say, okay, let's go back and reevaluate and see what we could do to make it more understandable for all communities. That way, there is no leverage in who can understand what, and there's no trying to understand the legal jargon, because I'm pre-law. I know that there's legal jargon that only some people have access to and only some people understand, but it shouldn't be like that. Everybody goes to this school. Everybody should know where their tuition is going. Thank you.
Thank you, Katarina. Zachary, I'll ask you a similar question. Can you provide detailed insights on how you plan to enforce transparency in AS decision-making and governing processes? And also, how do you plan to ensure transparency in allocating funding?
Yeah, so sitting on the campus program funding board and the FAC, Financial Affairs Committee, I've been able to understand where the budget breakdown is. I understand where the money goes. That may not be the case for everyone. However, I have understand where it goes, what happens, and I really want to create that sense of like community, fostering like meetings, so that way I can personally, alongside CPF, alongside FAC, help educate our students that want to know. Because we can tell everyone and say, hey, this is it, but they're not going to listen unless they want to know. And we really have to find those students that are curious, that have that curiosity, and really want to understand what's going on the campus, what the campus breakdown is, where the AS budget is going to. I am very happy to tell them where it goes to, because I have educated myself on that, and I will educate anyone else who wants to learn that. I also plan to increase that transparency through emails. However, that emails go overlooked most times, and it's the people that really want to know that I really want to help. Overall, I do want to increase the transparency between where the funding goes to, and I'll also spotlight the opportunities that students and organizations have to receive funding for their organizations. Because much like I did with HBSA, I've done with several other orgs saying, hey, go apply for SSF, go apply for CPF. There's so much money out there that AS provides that you can be taking a hold of, and really creating these opportunities for your students, for your classmates. And I really want to spotlight those opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Zachary. Katarina, your campaign also states you will advocate for lowering student tuition and increasing visibility of hidden fees and other costs. Regarding this, can you clarify how feasible it is for the AS president to influence university-wide decisions on funding, and what specific steps do you plan to take to advocate for lowering tuition?
Yeah, of course. When applying and running for a position as important as president, it's really important to understand the scope of your abilities. So increasing tuition sounds very unfeasible. However, because I know that as the president, you have to advocate for the school on a statewide and county-wide level and go to CSSA, which is the Cal State Student Association meetings, that is where the decisions are made. That is where they talked about the 5% student increase. And he's not here right now, but Melvin Ridley III was the one advocating for lowering student tuition and not increasing it. However, who's going to continue that when he's not here? I will. I will take that on. And I will continue to make sure that students aren't paying the price for our debt that we're sending to places that we don't even know about. So that is just one of my also like initiatives countywide, is to go to these meetings and to go to the Cal level and tell them exactly what it's like to be a student that doesn't have this income and what it does to the middle income students that can't afford the insane tuition that we're asking for. There's so many students affected by this, especially international students, because they already have to pay everything out of pocket, but that doesn't make them well off or more well off than the next person. They're just more responsible for paying everything, and they're responsible for the decisions we make, and they're hardly a part of it, which isn't fair and quite honestly pretty disgraceful on AS's side. So that is something that I will 100% advocate for, and you can rely on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Katarina. Zachary, considering your competitors' focus on transparency and advocating for reduced tuition, how do you plan to reconcile concerns about rising costs for students?
So unfortunately, we can't do anything about this tuition increase. I'm going to be blunt with that. There's nothing that we can do about it. What we can do, however, is leverage the amount of SSF funding that's going into it. With this tuition increase, also it boosts the budget for SSF. It boosts the budget for our campus in total. Our campus, SDSU as a whole, has a $1 billion budget that we don't know what goes to. They have an insane amount of money that should be funding these programs that already implemented, that they say in their textbooks, in their walk-around slides, they say that they're helping these organizations. What amount are they actually funding them for? Because that's really what it comes down to, is the money. We got to know where the money is going. And with the increase in tuition, increases the student engagement in SSF. I really want to sit down and talk to students and have open forums where we can speak about what SSF is and explain to them that there's over like $14 million that they can pull from for student events. I've known students that have flown all the way to Chicago, Boston, New York and stuff for these conferences, for these events. We should be leveraging the opportunities that we currently have because we are paying for it. And what students aren't doing is they're not getting a bang for their buck. They're not utilizing these current opportunities because they don't know about them. They don't know about where to go. They don't know how to apply for them. And that transparency comes with that centralized calendar system for events that take place to cover these areas of like understanding where the money goes to, understanding how to apply for it, and understanding like how they can get involved on campus, how they can really make the most out of their experience here, using the money that is already supplemented for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary. Katarina, in your statement, you also mentioned increasing accessibility to resources. What resources need more accessibility, and can you provide more detail on the initiatives you plan to implement?
110%. Okay, so accessibility is something I'm extremely passionate about because it's something that affects every single person on this campus, whether you like it or not. So from the second you're born, you are born on a different level than somebody else. Nobody is born on the same place. However, you can address and allocate who is being represented and who is being told about which resources. For example, I'm a Guardian Scholar student, which means that my tuition is paid for through being a foster kid. And a lot of foster youth on campus are also being paid for. However, what they don't know is that everything else, like AS-wise, isn't as accessible to us. Even though we know in AS that you can join and you can stumble in and you can be a part of it, not everybody knows that. So when you're a foster youth, for example, I was being told, here are your resources to the Basic Needs Center, here are some clothes you can get, here are some basic housing you can get. But they didn't say, here is leadership positions you can go for, here are opportunities that might not be on your radar, and instead, that's what I had to go out and find on my own. However, if you look at Greek life, no hate on Greek life, I'm literally in Alpha Kappa Psi, but they are the ones that are told about AS positions, and they're the ones that are uplifted. Why is that? That is because we don't recognize the bias we have in accessibility. We are so lucky as an institution to not have to worry about accessibility, but what does that mean for everybody else? Accessibility goes just beyond disabled persons. It also goes into your cultural heritage, your race, your ethnicity, your background. If you're LGBTQ, everything matters. And that is why accessibility is such an important initiative to me, especially these trainings that I talked about earlier in my speeches. Thank you.
Zachary, I'll ask you a similar question. Besides the centralized calendar system, what resources do you think need more accessibility, and what initiatives do you plan to implement to provide accessibility to students?
So a couple of my team members that are on my slate, Blueprint SDSU, are transfer students, are Project Rebound coordinators. One of them, Cesar Lopez, he was a Project Rebound coordinator, and when he came back to this campus, he hit the ground running because of his curiosity, his spontaneity, his willingness and drive to do more is what really got him there. However, a lot of students out there aren't like that. And the reason why they don't know about these opportunities is because they're not hit with a constant stream of communication. They're not hit with, hey, constantly like, hey, let's send out an email. Let's go into your classroom. Let's really talk to you about what is going on campus. Let's really talk to you what initiatives, what resources there are on campus for you, and really allowing that transparency. We're not doing that currently. We're just sending out a small email once a year that says, hey, here's all your resources, good luck. That does not work. We really need to hit them with a constant stream of communication, open forums such as this, utilize the student union, utilize the campus that we have to really promote what is going on, how they can get involved, what resources can they use. Because right now, people just fly down with their heads solo. They go to class, they get out of the class, and then they get in their car and leave. They don't know anything. We need to go into those classes. We need to go into those meetings and really hit them with that constant stream of communication of this is what you can use. Did you know that at AS Food Pantry upstairs you can get food for free Monday on certain days of the week from certain hours? I was a big part of that in bringing money allocation and funding for that. And so I really want students to utilize it as much as possible, but they won't know about it unless we tell them. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary. So before we conclude this debate, we'll start with you. Why should students vote for you as opposed to your other competitor? You also have 2 minutes.
Yeah, so not only has my variety of positions uphold my strengths and whatnot, I also have a constant stream of empathy with my friends. I've created a community on campus because of the opportunities that I was able to create for myself. I don't want that for other students. I want them to have those opportunities already in place for them that they can just go join. Because it's hard. It's hard to make friends. No one talks about this. It's hard to make friends. It's hard to make that community for yourself. And I really want to foster that sense of community for our campus through these initiatives, through this centralized calendar system, through the funding that we're going to be bringing back to this school and get it to the level that we really want it at. So overall, I really want to bring back the love for our students, the love for our campus pride, and really how I'm going to do that is through my events, through my speeches, through my open forums, and overall just creating that sense of community on campus as a whole, because we deserve that. We are paying for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary. Katarina, we'll pose the same question to you. Why should students vote for you as opposed to your other competitor?
Of course. If there are 3 things that I want to be remembered for today, it's representation, resilience, and intentionalism. There isn't a single thing that I've done in my college career that had no thought or reasoning behind it. I'm not someone that cares about power or gluttony. I'm someone that wants to bring power back to the people, especially underrepresented people. In my quest to represent historically marginalized communities and provide new platforms, my personal journey fuels my commitment. Having endured being overlooked, ignored, verbally, physically abused, and even experiencing homelessness, I carry the weight of these experiences into my role. They are not scarred to hide, but they are badges of resilience, driving me to ensure that no one else suffers the same injustices. I am determined to not just listen to my student body, but to offer them a seat at our table and to bring their pain into their positions. Make us stronger. As president, I will be the voice for those who have been silenced, then advocate for those who have been marginalized, and be the beacon of hope for those who have been cast aside. Together, we'll forge a future where everyone is seen, valued, and heard. Someone asked me why representation is a goal of mine and not simply a side effect of being president. That question is exactly why I'm running, and will continue to educate and share that if I were told that someone like me could run for president, I would have done it a long time ago. I won't allow for any more foster youth, people of color, LGBTQ+ folk, or women to think that someone is more qualified because they didn't endure the same struggles as you. Those struggles made you stronger. Your pain is resilience, and you deserve here to be on this stage just as much as I do, and I want everyone here to know that. There should be more than 2 people running for this role, and I know at least one of you is next. Thank you so much, and RISE SDSU, which stands for Representation in Student Endeavors, and the purple stands for the wealth in your life experience, not the currency in your wallet. Thank you so much. RISE SDSU.
Thank you, Katarina, and thank you, Zachary. That concludes the final presidential AS debates.